I'm Katherine Carter, together with my co-host,
Kirsten Larson.
And this is the Radiant Journey podcast. The writer of Proverbs tells us that the lovers of God walk on the highway of light, and their way shines brighter and brighter until the perfect day. This is a podcast about discovering the revelatory wisdom and surprises that Jesus plants along our journey, and the joy of unpacking and putting to use the nuggets that we uncover. If you struggle with finding or staying true to your unique purpose, or you just need a little encouragement to keep you going, we hope that this is a safe place to rest and refuel for your next steps. Yours is a radiant journey, and we want you to savor every moment of it. Shall we begin?
Welcome to episode 5. 5 is alive.
Number 5 is alive.
Yes.
What is that, Short Circuit?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I must have been like 6 or 7 when that came out.
It's been quite a while, hasn't it? Well, 5, the number of grace. We're going to be kind of entering into one question that was posed to me several months back by someone that sent me on a little bit of a journey. And Katherine and I have been talking about this for quite a while. And we're excited to kind of enter into grace and the world of grace and being able to ask Jesus questions. So let me set you up for success for a second. A few months ago, I was talking to someone about their hopes and dreams, and out of their mouth came this comment that said, I don't really want to bother Jesus. I've already asked him once for this, and I don't want to keep bothering him with that question. And it really hit me. Oh, can we bother Jesus? I know, Katherine, have you ever heard that question?
I don't know that I've ever had someone point blank ask me, or say that they felt like they were bothering Jesus, but I can see how someone might think that. In fact, maybe even in my own life, I've had something like that must be going on, because at some point I think we do stop asking for things when we don't see them manifest. Right. So it's a worthy question to explore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, we're going to be asking this. Can we bother Jesus? Should we bother him? Do we even bother him when we ask? We're going to be considering that question today. And I believe it's going to unveil some expectancy and bubble up hope for you in this radiant journey. So it sent me on a little bit of a journey, when I saw the weight of that question, and have really since felt it in the hearts of people afterwards, when you can really just feel the weight of something, whether their words are saying it or not. And like you said, Katherine, I don't know that I've asked that question directly, but I think it might have manifested in other ways. And many of you listening might feel that way as well as you listen along. Oh, maybe I have unintentionally felt that question in my heart. And so this journey led me down this road of, searching and all these passages that Jesus says, ask me, ask, seek, and knock over and over again. And I really was led to Luke 18, which to me is really a wild story that Jesus brings up. And if you're not familiar with it, Jesus shares the story of this broken widow and a angry judge. And he uses this story, and this widow starts asking and asking and asking.
What was she asking for again? It was like justice or something?
Yeah, grant me justice, And
it's a good thing. She was asking for a good thing.
Yeah. And the judge says no, 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 no.
Great guy.
Right? And then eventually he caves in. And there's this interesting mix that kind of happens as you read that. You're like, well, I mean, Jesus is telling this story, so should I be asking from that kind of place? And then eventually God is going to just cave in, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like nagging has a negative connotation. Persistently over and over and over again asking the same thing is annoying, right? And so here Jesus is offering this as a parable, and he's saying this is an example of a prayer of faith. And I can't help but kind of look at it and go, but she's being annoying, isn't she? So maybe we're not seeing it the way that Jesus sees it. And if we're not, what does he see in her that we're not getting? Because if we could get that, then maybe we'd be our prayer life, our asking life would be improved, upgraded somehow.
Right. Yeah, and can we keep asking those questions? So, Catherine, you had a great example, because if you haven't met Catherine yet and you're listening to us, there's a place that she loves to go, and it is one of her favorite places. It's actually called the happiest place on earth.
Yeah.
And you know what happens when kids begin asking their
Yeah,
parents?
I think this is an example that came up when we were sort of riffing on this topic is, you know, maybe persistence needs to be seen as something other than nagging, right? Because this is the parable of the persistent widow. And we started thinking about, kids don't tire of asking their parents to take them to Disneyland, right? And you could see it as nagging, or you could see it as faith. Faith that their parents want good things for them and will come through if you ask enough. Right? There's a purer heart, especially in young children, really young children, that they're not thinking manipulatively. They're thinking, this is a desire of my heart. This is something that would make me so happy. Mom, Dad, would you do this for me? Would you do this for me? Can we go? Can we go? Can we go? You could take the same example and shift it to like going to grandma's house. Can we go see grandma? Can we go see grandma? Can we go see grandma? Right? On the one hand, you could say it's nagging. On the on the other hand, you could say, good job, kid, for keeping it at the forefront of your parents' mind that you really want to do this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we're not trying to say, God's forgetful or anything, but at the same time, see how that's two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Is it nagging or is it persistence? And what shifts it to nagging?
Right.
When did our asking become nagging? I'm curious if this hasn't been the enemy's doing to twist it into this negative thing so we'll stop.
Right. So we'll give up, right? Yeah. As you're saying this, we didn't talk about this at all, but as you're saying this picture of even what you were talking about is, I'm just seeing little young Catherine asking her parents, and we love going to Disneyland with her parents. They love Disneyland too.
That's right.
And I was thinking, oh, but the picture even of that is a child asking a father or asking a parent. And the positioning is very different of that than, I had even taken Luke 18 out of my vocabulary for a long time because I thought, well, I'm not a widow and God is not an angry judge. And so I don't really understand that passage. And I don't know how I fit in that context. And as you were saying that, I was thinking, what if Jesus used a really big extreme? Just go even in the worst context. That question would be answered. The persistent asking would be answered.
Yeah.
But somewhere else in Luke, he actually says, God is a good father.
Yeah.
And he will give to those who ask.
Right.
And you go, wait, if God is a good father and I'm his child, then there's something about that nature that lends towards asking.
Yes. Okay, I love this because now we can look at the widow's question and that she keeps asking as confidence in the nature, the role of the judge. That judge has to answer.
Yeah.
That is the judge. He's supposed to pass judgment, right? He's supposed to pass fair judgment, right? She is asking for justice to be done, right? And she is having faith that he will do what he says he will do, that he will fulfill the role that he has. And so couldn't our asking also be a repeated confirmation in our belief that the Lord will act according to his nature?
Wow.
He gives every good and perfect thing.
Wow.
If a kid, asks for a loaf of bread, a father doesn't give a stone. That was another parable where Jesus was trying to reveal the heart and nature of the Father is, I want to fulfill
Wow.
these things,
Wow.
right? And so maybe something else is going on here. Okay, we're getting farther and farther away from this interpretation that persistence is nagging.
Right.
What about persistence as I believe that what is supposed to happen will?
Whoa.
I believe that the Lord is going to act out of his true nature, his true character of love, to be a loving Father who always provides.
Wow. Wow. So you're saying that by me asking persistently, by me
Mhm.
asking in faith, can
Yeah.
actually set me up to say, I'm declaring I believe in your nature.
Yeah.
I believe, God, that you're good.
Mhm.
It actually is almost the opposite of, can I bother Jesus?
Yeah.
No way. His nature is that he says, how many times does Jesus even say, ask me?
Right.
Ask, seek, and knock. Even ask, seek, knock spells ask.
Oh man. Ask, seek, and knock speed. Oh my gosh. Let's read it. Let's read it. I actually pulled it up earlier. This is Matthew 7 and starting at verse 7. And he says, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives. The one who seeks finds. And to the one who knocks, the door will be opened. Now I'm switching over to the Passion Translation because I just love reading that, but it's fun to hear it in these different translations. Ask and the gift is yours. Come on. Seek and you'll discover. Knock and the door will be opened for you. For every persistent, look at that. Every persistent one will get what he asks for. Every persistent seeker will discover what he longs for, and everyone who knocks persistently will one day find an open door.
Wow. Wow. I hope this is encouraging for those listening because I'm sure if you're like Catherine and I, and many others that we've talked to and walked with in their journey, is that there comes a point where you might stop asking. Comes a point where you might
Yeah.
have forgotten to keep asking.
Yeah.
There are many reasons, right, where why do we stop asking these questions? I know that
Yeah.
we get discouraged,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
get maybe even disillusioned.
Maybe when it lingers too
Yeah.
long, you've been praying. Some people have been praying for years for
Yeah.
something they still haven't seen happen.
Yeah. Yeah. What do we do with that awkward space? I like to call
Yeah.
it awkward.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Where we maybe are tired, weary, or maybe we just forgotten.
Yeah. I feel like this is an area where I'm growing up a little bit in the Lord. Like I'm starting to realize that my single perspective on what's going on in my life is not all that's happening. I think this is one of the reasons why we ask for the Lord to give us eyes to see and to see things the way he does, because it shifts everything.
Mm.
And here's an example. Bill Johnson from Bethel Church says that, and he said this recently in a sermon, that sometimes prayers that we have prayed over time that still have not been answered because we are not yet the person that we need to be in order to carry the answer that we've asked for. Okay. And he's what he then went on to say is that persistent prayer changes us, that it gives us a strength and an endurance and a confidence and a faith in the nature of God to repeatedly ask and press in to everything that the Lord has said is ours for the asking.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That is very different than just looking from one side and saying, I keep asking and I'm not getting an answer. Is that all that's going on, though,
Right.
Catherine? Is that really all that's going on? No, what's happening is I am submitting myself to a process that's like, they've that metaphor of pushing on a boulder, that is like 500 pounds, and you do that all day long. And you go to, move the 25-pound boulder and you practically throw it across the room. because the pressing, the enduring, the pushing into something, the pressing into something has actually built a muscle
Mm.
of faith that you don't even have to think about it anymore. It's like ingrained in who you are now all of a
Mhm.
sudden.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I have experienced that personally. As you're
Mhm.
saying that, I think of many examples that I've walked in, and I've realized times where when I have continually asked and done it from the position of a daughter to a loving father.
Mm,
Yeah, I think sometimes if we're really aware of when we're asking,
mhm,
I think sometimes we do ask from a servant or a widow or from that kind of distant place. And it's like in the asking, we begin reminding ourselves and renewing our mind of, wait, God, you do want to answer me. God, you do care about me. Wait, I
mhm,
am your child. I am your bride. I'm a bride of Christ. I'm
mhm,
in union with him. And
mhm,
he's even given me a place of authority seated at the right hand of Christ. And
mhm.
you begin stepping into that place. But I remember a journey where I was asking, what do I believe even as I'm asking this question?
Yeah.
And what position am I even asking from? And the
Mm,
more I kind of stepped into that place of, I'm going to come in faith, I'm going to come under grace, I'm
mhm,
going to come as a child, I'm going to come as a bride, I'm going to come in these positions. I would even notice those places of doubt in my heart that would even start to kind of release as I asked more and more.
yeah.
And, many prayers I've seen answered quickly, many prayers took many, 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 many years, and some are
Mhm,
still on the table being prayed into.
mhm,
And, we know though, like Abraham waited 25 years, right? For a
mhm.
promise that God gave.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
God is sometimes waiting
Mhm,
is part of the journey. But I
yeah.
think there's a Hebrew word for waiting that actually means
Mhm,
entangled, like a
mhm,
braid being
mhm.
braided together.
Yes.
And as we wait and ask, we actually become more entwined with his heart.
Yeah, I think that's so true. It's such a beautiful thing to step away from this idea that you have to convince God of something
Mm.
and instead to remind yourself who he is.
Yeah.
And what would happen if I started to view my repeated prayers for things as repeated declarations of God's heart toward me?
Mm.
Lord, I pray for this because I know you want this for me.
Yeah.
I know that your heart is to give me the very best thing. This
Wow.
actually has, over the years, enabled me to pray. There's this little phrase that I use um, that if God always wants to give me the very best,
Mm.
and I don't have it yet, and I've been persistently praying for it, then it's not His best for me to have it yet.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I think that has come hard won after, questioning, because I've questioned many times, like, why is this taking so long? Why am I not seeing immediate breakthrough? Why do some
Mhm.
things get answered really fast and other things don't?
Mhm.
I'm starting to realize there's so much more going on inside of me that the Lord is interested in building and growing
Mm.
besides just what I see. And that the more I trust who he really is
Yeah.
through constantly declaring it
Yeah.
and reading it,
Yeah.
the more I don't see it as nagging.
Wow.
That's what shifts it. And I think that's what can shift it for our listeners. If you're listening to this and you're thinking, you know what, I'm kind of sick of this. I'm
Mm.
kind of sick of asking and asking and never seeing an answer.
Yeah.
I just want to encourage you. I think we just want to
Yeah.
encourage you guys and say, you know what? There is more going on. Don't let the fact that you have
Mm.
not seen the manifestation of the
Mm.
answer come,
Yeah.
that because you haven't seen that come yet, that you are now going to give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up. Let the good work that the Lord wants to do in your heart, He wants you to come out the other side of this more confident of His goodness than you have ever been in your
Yeah.
entire life.
Wow.
He wants you to keep praying because every time you pray, you are declaring who he is, his
Yeah.
nature. It's an act of belief that he is who he says he is, the provider, the giver of every good and perfect gift. That's what you get to declare
Wow.
as you're praying.
Wow. That's amazing. I just have to say, I'm being encouraged and ministered to. And
It's a good conversation.
so even just circling back to our original question, when I'm hearing you say that, I'm thinking, can we bother Jesus? I would say, first of all, no. I would say it might bother him that we don't come to him
Yeah. Yeah.
regularly, right?
Mhm.
Like, doesn't bother him. I think
Yeah.
he is full of grace and love and
Course.
mercy and all
Of
of that.
course.
But I just think, whoa, if it's his desire
Yeah.
to give us good gifts,
Yes.
to answer our prayers,
Yes.
to walk with
Yeah.
us, then it's almost like he's eagerly anticipating answering these prayers,
Yeah.
even though maybe it might take some time.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so what if we take this to the farthest extreme? What if Jesus is saying, yeah, bother me? Bother me. Yes. Ask me. Seek. Knock. Yes, yes, yes. Bother me.
Mm,
But understand that my heart doesn't see your asking
mm.
as nagging. And so you need to stop seeing it that way. You
Yeah.
need to stop seeing it that way. And you need to see what I see in the story of the persistent widow, which is she believed that he would fulfill his role. She believed he would do something for her because that's who he was. That's who he was. That's what he was supposed to execute in his role.
Wow. Wow.
Let's bother him. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. So, yeah, Jesus says it right at the end. He says to that story, just to kind of, we bookend it at the beginning and the end. He says, don't you know that God, the true judge, will grant justice to all his chosen ones?
Mhm.
He will pour out his spirit. He
Come on.
will not delay. So you might be thinking, I don't know, it's been a long delay. I know personally I have prayers I've been praying for 20 years. So yeah, it feels like delay, but it says he will not delay to answer you and will give you what you ask for. And then it says God will give swift justice to those who don't give up.
Come on.
So this is Jesus's encouragement. So be ever praying, be ever expecting in the same way as the widow. And then it says, will the Son of Man find this kind of undying faith on the earth? And we just want to encourage you, like Catherine was saying earlier, to take a moment, even just scan over the course of your life. Are there some prayers that you have buried? Any that you have forgotten about? Any you feel like I've asked that once or twice, haven't seen an answer? Any that you've even just set aside, didn't know what to do with? And we want to begin to release an expectation that God is good. He wants to answer. And also the expectation that you will be changed into the new you that is required to receive it. Just like what Catherine said, what Bill said. Oh, and so just pause for a moment. If there's any buried dreams in my heart, Lord, any prayers or any hopes that you want to bring back to the surface.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me the courage, the faith, and the strength to begin asking again from this new place. And give me the strength to bother Jesus.
I love it. And just like that, episode 5 of the Radiant Journey podcast comes to an end. Guys, we hope that you'll come over and visit us at our website, theradiantjourneypodcast.com. We love it when our listeners comment, and we'd love to meet you over there in those comments. Have a fantastic day. This is Catherine and
Kirsten
signing off.